So initially, to start with, GitHub Student Developer Pack. If you are a student, you can enroll for this kind of pack. For students, there are multiple organizations which are supporting this kind of packs. The beauty of this GitHub pack is that it will give a lot of things in one place. So be it in terms of creating a website and that kind of things, like buying a domain like Namecheap, for all those things you will get one bundle. At the same time, for the practicing and others, you have like Visual Studio Code, Typeform, GitHub pages. Gitlens means like to check how the things are there. And also like so Figma and others for creating your web apps, so means like the diagrams and others. And also for the code spaces. Code space means where you can code everything instead of in your local system. And there is something like career readiness, means educative is another good thing. Interview cake, these are all help in terms of interview preparations. At the same time, for the web development, you need some like the JetBrains IDE, like PyCharm, or like Bootstrap Studio. So DigitalOcean is another cloud provider. So Azure, Microsoft Azure is also there. Like that, there are multiple services you can get it. So all they have compiled into a single place. That's the reason it is more productive. And last but not the least, it also supports the data science related. So be it the data camp is a very good website for like practicing the data science related things, starting from say data analyst till like data scientist and machine learning, everything you can do. In terms of MongoDB for like NoSQL database, Datadog is for like monitoring, and like SQL Gate is for working on SQL commands. So, and Deep Note is for ML. So if you can get this, it is like one place for all of them together. But the point is, the moment you are trying to enroll like a student, you need to give your valid ID card. So mentioning like what is your end date of your as a student. If you mention that, that's it. Once you create, you can do. Even if you have an existing GitHub account also, you can add an extra email ID of your student email ID, and you can do that. It's a very simple thing. That's a recommendation. And second, so like this, there are others also which are supporting. Another one is Microsoft Image Academy. So this is also another program where like Microsoft is sponsoring so certain things. And in the same fashion, there is Oracle database. For Oracle also has this concept of Oracle Academy. They are also supporting. In Oracle Cloud, you will get all the resources and others. And the one uniqueness of this Oracle Cloud is that generally not only student, for anyone who are creating any resources, there are certain servers which are entirely free. Every throughout the year they are free. So there are some kind of policies there. If you are enrolling like a student, you get a lot of benefit. In the same fashion, IBM has some things. IBM is good at like IBM Watson. Watson is for like ML. So one of the things, like there are IBM Cloud is also there where you can spin your own Kubernetes clusters. They are good with the certain things. And last but not the least, the most common, AWS Cloud. AWS Cloud has also something called as AWS Educate. If you go to the Educate scene, so they also support a lot of things. The moment you enroll like a student, you get all these things which are very basically needed. So to start with, as a beginner, as a developer, you start with this GitHub service pack. Then slowly you can evolve to others also. Then coming back to our content. So I have a repository. Now I exposed it as an open source. So you can just walk through this path and you can reach out to this. I'm dropping in the chat. You can see that. If you can navigate to this, any website like in a Facebook and others, we have some content, right? If let's say I have a Facebook page, I post something everyone can see. If I make it private, no one can see. In the same fashion, so this is my GitHub repository. I posted a project. Now I marked it as public. Earlier it was private. So as it is public, you can go to this URL and you can find it. So if you find that, generally there will be branching strategies. What I am using is that's very simple. If you mine is the default branch, you can see all the code which we have done for the past 2 days here. But if you want to know individually for one of the classes, say class 1, you click on class 1 branch. In class 1, what all things were done, you can see individually. Or if you want to see the class 2, if you click on class 2 branch, you can see in class 2 what we have discussed individually. So overall, if you want to see, that's the main branch. So in this way, when you are processing also, it's easy for you to re-navigate. Next, I have a repository. Now, how do you connect to the code space? So if I go to the code space, if I click on this code space, so I need to write. You see what is saying? Hey, already there are two code spaces. What are these? This is something which I worked 2 days back. This is something which I worked 20 hours back, means 1 day back. Now, where I want to go? So I want to create one more code space, or so configure the build or whatever I can specify. If I can tell like one of them, so if I click on it, what is this friendly space doodle? That is just a name, random name they will give. It is like a one container. For you to understand, just imagine like a box. Container means. So it will create and you can see your content, your code and everything should come. Shortly, it will place everything. For the first time, it will say a plus mark to create it. Subsequently, you can use the same container. Why it is taking this much time? Because just imagine that when you are not using, so unnecessarily resources is waste, right? To avoid that, this container will be stopped. When you are asking, it will be started again. That's the reason slightly it will take a moment. So it is saying like, do you want to do a git fetch and others? Yes, you can do to get the latest code. And you can see what we have discussed in the last 2 classes. I showed about the dev setup. So GitHub Access, creating project, and like introduction, differences between Python 2 and 3, and like what are the differences, built-in functions, keywords, identifiers, IPython notebook. Till then we have discussed, right? And if you go in detail, we have started on the second thing also, which is the, if I click here, see the first tab is about the files tab. I have worked on the arithmetic operations. Till then, I worked on .py files, but for the first time, I worked on .ipynb, means Jupyter Notebook. So IPy means IPython Notebook. So IPython Notebook means only for Python, but slowly they renamed it to a Jupyter to say that they want to do for other languages also. But in Python, as we are working, we need not worry about the others. But this is how it works. Now I have the terminal window. So I have my files window and also my code also. If I want to minimize some of them, I can say like Control B. It will minimize. So you need not minimize it. It's no need. So just you have this much content, right? Fine. So what I told here initially, everything will be like a cell. First, the moment you create, you need to select the kernel. It will ask like select a kernel the moment you did. Once you select the kernel, that's it. You can do operations. There are 2 types of cells. One is the markdown cell, other one is the code cell. If you want to write like, statements like this, markdown cell. Markdown means like you need to start with a hash followed by a space if you want like a heading. Else within this. If you want to know more about the markdown, there are like more markdown editor. If you just type like markdown editor, you can get through a lot of things. So one of them is the stack edit. If you click here, you can understand like what the code is. So here I'm using it. See whatever I just wrote, I create the markdown here only. My course content and others. See here, exactly it's coming. My markdown. So the way the code is written here, how it is displaying, how we can understand the difference. Wherever I want highlight, I'm doing a 2 asterisks. So wherever I want, see here, 2 hashes means smaller headings. So 2 hashes followed by space. For after every hashes, there should be a space. This is a simple, markdown is very easy for you to learn. 2-3 days if you are following, so it will be very easy, cakewalk. If you want to create a table, how to do, all those things are there. Now coming back, after this markdown, every cell if you want to run, you should do shift and enter. The moment you type shift and enter, so it will run that cell. As it is a arithmetic, sorry, it's like a markdown, just it will display. Whereas if I have a code cell, that also same thing will happen. Individually I want to run. So you see, you have the code, but the outputs were not there. See, that's the beauty of the typical Jupyter notebook. We can process and save the code. Yesterday we done and we came back and still you are seeing the code. In fact, we can see the outputs also. There is a way, I will tell. But if you see here, the full moment I did, first time it executed, you see the check mark and it is saying how much time it took also. As it's a very small thing, you didn't notice much. And you can just assign a variable to another variable. Like this also it's possible. But in the assignment operation, left side should not be a number anytime. That's what we learned. And if I see further, you see the numbers and the values are coming. And similarly, if you want to go further, see whatever you executed earlier, the same old things you are executing again. See, every time when you are executing, you can understand the processing, right? The symbols. So the check mark and the output, check mark and the output, check mark and the output. Now coming back to the context. Yesterday we have seen about the arithmetic operations. So I told about how to define a integer, float and others. But in the entire space of we defining, did we ever mention anything like a int or a float or anything? No. This is the beauty of dynamic type language, where you don't specify what data type you want. You just give the value. Based upon that, it will decide. Because it's not a direct language, it's not a compiler based language, right? It is like an intermediate, it can convert. So that's the beauty of it. And also, at the same time, I told yesterday that if you want to work on the largest number, I told there is no particular limit on largest number. The limit is only on the machine based. If the machine supports a larger RAM, so larger the heap size will be there, then larger the number we can store. If the machine, so this vice versa happens so the same thing works in the smaller also. We may think, but even storing a smaller number takes a lot of memory. So, and in the process of smaller numbers itself, I told, when you want to store a very large small value, generally it will not store beyond 16 digits after decimal. If you want to retain decimals beyond 16 digits, generally you don't do in your things. But if you're gonna go for like scientific computations, then you need it. In those cases, you can rely on a module called as decimal. In Python, the modules are of multiple modules are there. So for a practice, you will understand what module to use at what purpose. So this is kind of like a selective import. Means, so in a decimal module, assume that there are 10 functionalities, but you want only one functionality. That's why you did a selective import, such that you can directly use this decimal. So just imagine like if you have 10 functionalities, if you load all the 10, but you are not using them, it's unnecessary, right? That's the reason we do this kind of selective import. So the point is like if you give any number, we should pass like a string. That's one thing. If you pass, it will retain it. So the value like that. And similarly, if you want to retain the fractional values, why fractional values are needed means, generally if you do 10 by 3, it's not at 3.333. Ordinary result will get after decimal till 16 digits only. If you count that, it will be 16 only. So, but if you want to retain that, so very thing, you can go for fractional. Because when you go for like some kind of computations like scientific or astronomical, so very small values also make a lot of difference. So in that case, we can rely in the fractional module. Going ahead, if I do the arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, so everything works perfectly as how we do on a pen and paper on a math book, the same thing. But one thing we need to understand is that in Python, division results in a floating point value. Whether it is perfectly divisible or imperfect, so it will do the same thing. So 2 by 5 should be 5 itself. So 2 by 10 should be 5. 2 by 5 should be 2. But still you get like a floating point results. In the same point, 10.3, 10 by 3 should be like 3.33. So no matter whether it is needed or not, the result will be floating point at any point. And one more thing, when you do a division, you do like this only, right? Every time you borrow like 1 and you make a decimal, you borrow a 0, you do it. You borrow 0, like that you do. But instead of doing the exact value, if you want the quotient and remainder, so 3 threes are 9, so 1 is remainder, right? If you want that kind of things, if you want that kind of things, like this quotient and remainder, Python came with 2 more operators. Generally, division is for like the true division. But if you want like the quotient and remainder, so Python came with 2 operators. One is the floor division, other one is remainder. Floor division means like 2 division symbols. You see, 2 division symbols. So we are Indians, we know math more clearly. So I need not explain what is a remainder and quotient. So quotient is so when 3 threes are 9, so the remainder is 1. So if you want quotient, floor division is for that, and remainder is for this. And if you want both of them, you can use a built-in function called as devmod. So it will give side by side both the values. So that is how it works. Any doubt till now? Okay. If no doubt, like let's resume with one more example, then we can stop. Say this time I want to work on 10 by 5. How do I work? I want to create a markdown box. So how do I write markdown? If I want like a block of code in markdown, I can specify like this. If I want to do like 10 by 2, so means like 2 tens are, 2 fives are 10, right? 2 fives are 10, remainder is 0. So now in this case, quotient is 5, remainder is 0, as it is perfectly divisible. So if I want to achieve the same thing, I can try that. I can go and ask. If I do like 10 floor division, hope you understood, right? If I do like an ordinary division also I will do, floor division also I will do, so that you will notice the differences. You see now, ordinary division you got 5.0. So floor division you got 5. When the division is perfectly done, then the floor division and ordinary division will give the exact same result. But when it is not perfectly divisible, you will notice the difference. This is a simple math. And the remainder is 0 in this case. And so devmod, if you give, it will give both the results together. In the same fashion, as we know, as we know in the math, we can also think about the signs. So generally, when you do a mathematics, we know, right? If there are two values, when you're doing any arithmetic operation, if one of them is a negative value, the result will be negative, right? So how that negative value comes, that I'm showing. If both are positive, you get the positive result. If one of them is negative, you get negative. One of them is negative, you get the negative. If both are negative, you get a positive. So I am not doing anything from Python side. These are like general rules, right? We know. In the same fashion, Python comes with this kind of nuances also. This is something not I am creating. These are all mathematical things only. So when you do a floor division, so the same like a division, if one of them is a negative, then it will do like this. So the result will always round towards the minus infinity. Means, so when I did a ordinary division, what happened? You got the same result, but the sign will be positive or negative based upon the numerator and denominator. In the same fashion, here also same thing happens, where you get like, as both are positive, you get the positive result as it is. If one of them is negative, then it will try to push towards the lesser round of value. Means it will round off to the integer. So that's the reason you get 4, minus 4. So similarly here also in this case, it will round off to minus 4. When one of them is negative, it will round off to like this, to the round of value. So that is how floor division works. And also here, the last thing, the remainder operation also in the same lines. If both are positive, both are negative, you get the result, right? Here, if both are positive, fine. If one of them is positive, so one of them is negative is also fine. If both are negative, then you get like a other result. So it is also based upon a similar rules. Not going more into the math, because coming back to where we are right now. Like this, Python supports different operators. We know till now only this addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Now we learned another two operators called as floor division and a remainder. So remainder is also called as modulo, so operator. Next is like the power operation. If you want to do the power operation, you see there is something. So 4 to the power of 6. So I am showing these results as that you can see the output down the line. If you don't want that also, we can just print it. So power operation is this one. If you do any value, it will give the result like this. 4 to the power of 2, it's not 1 star, 2 stars. Observe carefully, when are you doing this operation? Very, very careful is that you should not separate. Means don't write any space or something. If you write a space, it will treat like two operators. If you add them together, then it will treat it like this. Sir, why this kind of complicated operator? Yes, because if you see the keyboard right now, almost all keys we are using for some operators or the other. They don't have an operator. So they used other every symbol for an operator. By end of the course, you will see that almost all symbols on the keyboard will be used. So similarly, if you want to do the operations, so they also created like one more thing, because initial days they have a lot of trouble in terms of creating. They don't know what to do. For that reason, they created one operator also called as like power operator. Means a built-in function they created. So for doing a power operation itself, they created. At the time, they don't have this symbol. They created it. Slowly after that, the symbol was introduced. So if you do a power operation like this also, it works. Like this also, it will work. Is it clear? In addition, so the beauty of this power built-in function is that we can also do one more thing. So whatever the base value, mantissa, that's what you call, right? Base and mantissa. I can do a square root also, right? Same square root. Square root means what? To the power of 1 by 2. So to the power of 1 by 2. So whatsoever. But the point is like power built-in function and both. But power built-in function can do one more job, is that it can take three values, not just two. So typically we know 2 means we know the power operation. What if this third value means? We can do a modulo also. What do you mean by modulo, sir? It's a reminder. Means when you give like power of 4 comma 2 comma 9, it indirectly does this one. Means it will do a power operation with the first two, and the result will be done a reminder operation with the last value. So this is the extra job being done by the power operation. So based upon this, you can use if you need something. And similarly, if you want to check that, there is one more thing. If you do the power operation of three values and both are there, right? I can make a check. This is called as a 2 equals symbol. Till now we use a 1 equal symbol, right? Now I am using 2 equal symbol. What is this 2 equal symbol telling is whether both sides are equal or not. So, just you can understand now. So power equal this one or like this. Both operations are resulting in the same answer. So to prove the same. Similarly, with the power operation, not just 2, I can do even 3 also. Means power of 0 comma 0 means anything to the power of, so if anything to the power of 0 means it will be 1. So for anything to the power of 0 means 1. So like that I have 3 equals. So this equal to symbol can be used not just for 2 but 3, 4, 5. These are called as relational operations, which you will learn down the line about and more into it. Fine, going further. There is one more thing called as exponential notation. Exponential notation means that it is not an operation. Notation or means it's a representation, right? It will not do anything, it will just represent. Generally, when you have a very large number or a very small numbers, we don't remember like 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 means what is the speed of light? You can remember like 3 into 10 to the power of 8. Why? Because it's easy to remember. But is the speed of light exactly 3 into 10 to the power of 8? No. It will be slightly around. But for human beings, for better remembering, we represent in terms of notations. So these notations, the real world examples are like this. If you go for like speed of light, velocity of light, or like something, you represent like this. So how this actually works is 1e1 means 1 into 10 to the power of 1. So that is the representation. This is nothing to do with Python. These are all typical math, which is already there. So 3e2 means 3 into 10 to the power of 2. So minus 2.3 e to 4 means minus 2.3 into 10 to the power of 4. And 3e18, 3 into 10 to the power of 8. The exact speed of light may not be 3.8. So 3 into 10 to the power of 8. It will slightly around. For human beings to better remember larger and smaller values, earlier people used to do like this. Still, so they do like that. The Avogadro number or like all these things are like constants, right? We rely on the same things. So this is all about this operation. Next, let me go for one more job. So I think we have done enough in this Jupyter notebook. Let me create one more Jupyter notebook. How do we create? I can just create like, for the compound operations, say B, I, P, P, Y, N, B. I created another Jupyter notebook. Sir, why can't we continue the previous? We can continue. Just to make you familiar, I'm doing it. I created a new Jupyter notebook. And first I need to select the kernel. So means your Python environment is selected. Now we can work. So what is a compound operation? So first, I don't want a code cell. I want a markdown cell. What is a compound operation? Compound operations means till now we know addition, subtraction, so multiplication, division, floor division, modulo means remainder operation, multiplication operation. So till now we have learned these operations. And we also see the assignment operation, right? Assignment operation. Compound operation means, so assignment plus anything means say plus equal to, minus equal to, so multiply equal to, so division equal to, so floor division equal to, so percentile equal to. So what is the point of going to this, sir? How they can help us? Generally, on a typical note, if I say, I take a small example. If I see here, as the previous one is a markdown, when I created a new cell, it also became like a markdown. You see here? If you do that, it will not do anything. It will just print like that. Don't worry. Yours is a code. So delete this cell also. Now you create a markdown. So I'm showing you typical problems, a beginner fail phase. So if you see here numbers, you got the result. You added two numbers and you are printing the result. Nothing wrong. So it will work like that. And similarly, if I do the same thing, if I take like, number is equal to 100 right now. And if I print number, see whatever I'm doing, it is printing, right? Fine. Similarly, I repeat the same thing. I'm saying that number is equal to number plus 10. What happened? The existing value of 100 was taken and plus 10 was taken. It was like 110 and again assigned to 100 itself. And if I do the same thing again, what will happen? Will it be 110 again? No. The existing value is like 110 plus 10, it would be 120. In this case of scenarios, okay, so we can use this operation. The point of going for this compound operation is that whenever you have in the left hand side and right hand side the same variable, in that case we can go for a compound operation. Instead of number is equal to number plus 10, as you are doing on the same operation, we can use a shortcut with the compound operator. If I do a compound operator, now see what will happen. Means why sir, why 120 didn't come? Don't think like that, because existing value is 120 right now. Plus 10 means like 130. In the same fashion, as I'm doing a plus operation, similarly I can do minus also, right? If I do number minus equal to, the existing value will be subtracted by 20. In the same lines, I can do multiply also. So number is equal to number into 1.5. Shortcut with a compound operation. And also, I can have an operation something like this. Okay, it's a big complex operation. So instead of doing like that, see in the right hand side, apart from number, did I have anything else? No, right? So in that case, I can replace with a shortcut. Means whatever the operations you're gonna have, the same operation I'm taking and I'm placing in braces like this. So it's easy for you to remember and do. You got it? In the same fashion, if I say, if I have like one more number, say if I have a other number, so another number is equal to 500, and if I have an operation something like this, can I do in this case? Number is equal to number percentile so and so. Can I do in this case? Yes, of course we do. So how we can do here in this case also? As I got the same number and number so and so, what I can do? Number divided by the number is equal to so and so. As we have the same number on the both sides, I can do it. So now if I execute it, I got the result. As it's a numerator, it's fine. So what if it is a denominator? Then you try once. And in the same fashion, if I have a number, means both the cases, the number, all the operations should happen on the same variable. So in that case, we can do it. And similarly, if I want to do a multiply operation, I have multiply equal to, and in the same fashion, like that, you can do the remaining things. But one question was asked, so is like, does Python supports any unary operations like in C++, Java, like that? Means plus plus equal to, means pre-increment, post-increment, pre-decrement, post-decrement. Means first giving a value and incrementing a value. First incrementing the value and giving the value. That kind of things are not at all supported in Python. If you just want to increment, you increment with plus equal to. If you want to decrement, minus equal to. That's it. You don't have any other operation. So Python is the most easiest language to learn. For any beginners also, it's easy. So that's why most people prefer to learn Python these days. And on top of that, trust me, so Python supports with very unique things. So let me show another Jupyter notebook to you to help you understand this. If I can say like, yeah, yeah. IPYNB notebook. So how do you select the kernel? You work on it. So this chapter I'm intending to show everything like this. So coming to the first thing, I don't want a Python cell. I want a Markdown cell. So where I want to showcase saying like, number formatting. So I need to give it tabs so that it will come inside it like this. If I don't give, it will come like a sentence. So number formatting, what's the point? Till now, if you have any number, how you are displaying? Sir, why are you using the variable num every time? That's easy, simple to represent. Again, the same problem happened. Because I created a markdowns and I'm just following, I got like this. So I need to create a cell code block and just execute, it will work. As it's a simple number, you have displayed like this. But just imagine, when you have a large number, how do you next going further? In these numbers, if I have a small number, it's fine. But what if I have a large number? When I have a large number, how do I display? I take like this. So the large number means I have some big number. I just print, hey, what is the type of the number? So type is a built-in function, right? So it will give like integer and it's a number. Even if you go big number also fine. But generally what will happen when you have a large number in real time? When you have a large number, you do a separate by a comma. Hope you remember? Anytime when you have a large number, you try to display like this, right? Comma separated. Why this comma is needed? But for human beings, for better readability, so we do this comma. But if you do the same thing comma in Python, so it will not treat like an integer anymore. It will treat it like a tuple. Sir, why sir like this? Means there is a reason. So when you go to tuples, I will explain. But one thing you can understand at this moment is you cannot place a comma. Then why people are placing this comma? Because for better readability. If you want a better readability for larger numbers, then Python supports with using an underscores. Between the numbers, we can add underscores. Sir, seems crazy. Yes, of course. But when you add an underscore, it will not read like an underscore anymore. The underscores will be removed. So, but if you are processing that number like this, if you place within quotes, then it is a string or more, right? So for this, as it is a string, so string containing like a number, we can convert to an integer also. That is a possibility. I showed the int built-in function. We can convert an integer. It will process like that. So integers can be defined like this. Not just integers, so even floating point values also. Let's take the example of a pi value. So pi value, when I'm representing like this. So in my code, when I'm writing the variables, I can do like this. But when it is understanding, it can do like that. And similarly, if I have one more example, 3 point so and so, to multiple underscores, and also in the last, it's a E23. E23 means what? Into 10 to the power of 23, right?
20. Yeah.
Exactly. You got the answer. And in the same lines, if I go for some number, say I give some number like this, it will process, but it will store like that. So this processing is for our convenience only. So, and if I have this one, is it a correct or a issue? There is a problem. The problem is that there were two underscores.
2 underscores.
You can have max only one underscore. You cannot have beyond that. So no more than two underscores are recommended. So this is all about like the number notations. Now we learned enough of new things. Now let's see the practicality of it. Practicality means like the in real world how to use it. So not every time we can rely on theory, right? If I go to the real world purposes, then we can understand that. Okay, yeah. Let me create one more file. So the ration store. I want to create a small ration store application. Ration store means what? So how a typical ration store will be there? If you go for a typical ration store in India, so they will do what? You will have like items, and they only decide the cost. They only decide the quantity also. You just need to go and pay the money. That's it.
Yeah.
So you have like 25 per kg wheat. So 30 kg they're gonna give. So you can buy. Similarly, rice also cost and quantity they fix, and you get it. And for this, if you want to buy, how much you need to pay. So if I go further, say like if I total both of them, 750 and 650, I get to some number. And if I add them, I get the result like this, 350. Maybe government has given a subsidy also because of some drought at the time. So you got a final bill. Means they fix everything. You just need to go and pay. If this is a problem which we need to solve, what do you mean by solving? Why a programming language is needed for solving this? Means in a programming language, you write the code to get the billing amount. So for everyone, we need to make this billing amount. So how to get it? So if you want to implement anything like a Python code, first you need to know what is the problem. You need to present the problem. Okay, in these particular things, what are the entities? Wheat and rice, and each one has a costs and quantities. So for each of the rice and this one, I need to represent the cost and quantity. Then I need to compute the values and compute the discount and give the final price. Now, what I used to do in the starting of my career is that when I'm learning Python, assuming that you don't know any language, everyone follows the same thing indirectly. First, I will make a list of all the steps, like in a English like language. Then I will do it. So first, what I need to do, get the cost of items into variables. So for every variables, I need to define the cost and I need to define it. So for that, I need to first define them. And you see, I wrote a comment to understand, and I wrote like the variable. A variable should have a meaningful name. That's why I used a underscore. Pipette says to use underscores for all the variables, right? Except classes. So that's why I did. Cost of wheat, whatever is given. Cost of rice, whatever is given. Now, similarly, like cost, the next thing, what is this? Quantity. We need to make a representation of the quantity also. Get the quantity of items into variables. So similarly, if I can start, whatsoever is the quantity, I can get it. Cost is also per kg. Similarly, quantity is also per kg. You got it. So 30 means 30 kgs. 50 means 50 kgs. So this comment is not mandatory. This comment will help people who are reading the code to understand. But see how I am maturing myself. Next, after doing this, what else I can do? After getting both the things, I need to make a computation, right, of the selling prices. So then I wrote the next step. Compute the selling price of each item and add them. So how do you define the selling price? Selling price means cost into quantity, right? So I define the cost into quantity. Means for solving any problem, you need to know how to solve also. Means some kind of domain knowledge is also needed. If you don't know what is the selling price, how can you compute? That's the reason so down the line after learning Python, if you are going to any field like machine learning or data science or cloud computing, apart from Python, you need to learn that also. So fine. In this case, compute the selling price of each of the item. I computed each of them. Then what I had done here, I have added both of them and did a subsidy and analyzed. So if I want to add both of them, so what will I get? So I computed individually, and if I calculate the selling price, I get some number. Finally, selling price equal to both of them. And after that, I need to compute the subsidy, 20%. So 20% of this number is like 270. I need to do the same thing. How do I compute the subsidy and deduct it? For that, I need to write a step that I need to compute the subsidy of the element and I need to deduct it. So for that, I can go and get the subsidy. The formula for computing the subsidy or percentage is like this. For any value, if you want to do the percentage calculation, this is a formula. I am telling a concept called as PEMDAS. I will tell you what is that shortly. But like we have done this. And finally, in the last step, we need to display the total billing price, right? So to do the total billing price after doing all, what we do? The total billing price means this total selling price minus this one. So you get the total billing amount. Now, how do you see the output? Go to the terminal and do it. I told how to get the terminal to the right also I told. So if you just close the terminal and if you create in the file, so view, so in the appearance, if I say panel position, by default it will be bottom. If I do right, it will be in the right side. So if you come here and we can go to this directory where this particular file is and do it, or else right click, see here, I did a copy path and just execute Python space this command means the entire path it will give. You see, now you got the total selling price, subsidy, and the billing amount. So don't you see your billing amount is exactly correlated? So like this, I created a solution. Now coming to this concept of, PEMDAS. What is this concept of PEMDAS? Why we need it? Okay, did you see this here? When I did a percentage calculation, I did a multiply and I did a slash. Because here in this case, what happened is that if I go in detail, I'll show you clearly here. If you go in this case, what happened? There are two things happening. If I don't place this brace, what will happen? Here also same thing happens. But here we have a multiplication operation and a division operation. Which one will take place first? Which one will take place next? Do you know? That is what is defined by this PEMDAS. If I go to the interactive mode, you can understand it much better. So, okay, rather than going for this, interactive mode means till now what you're doing, just you are going for Python, right? So let me show you another interactive mode today. That is called as a IPython. If I just type IPython, it should do. So same like Python, I'm just typing IPython. So if you don't have this IPython installed, so you need to install it. For installing the IPython, you have a command. There is something called as a pip. The moment you install Python, you get this installed. For that installation, I'm writing in the README so that you will understand. Pip install IPython. Even for the Jupyter notebook also same thing. So if the Jupyter is means Jupyter, whatever. As you don't have this concept of virtual environment at this moment, you need to write like hyphen user. Means, hey, install this module called as IPython and this Jupyter for the current user. And in addition, there is one more option called as hyphen capital U. Means, hey, if this module is not installed, then install it. If it is installed, then upgrade it. As I created a Python specific container in this code space, GitHub has provided the basic code Python related things. That's the reason I got already. So if I want to upgrade also, I can do the same step. Anyhow, I got to here. So within the Jupyter notebook, sorry, IPython notebook, we can do a OS commands also. Generally in Linux, ls is a OS command. I can do that ls also. At the same time, I can do a print, hello world. That kind of things also I can do. So what is the beauty is it will give a number for everything and the output also you can see more clearly. Now I want to tell something interesting about this called as operator precedence. Operator precedence means, so let me give you a list of things about this operator precedence. Operator precedence generally is about PEMDAS or BODMAS. If you have remember what you have learned in your schooling, there is something called as BODMAS. BODMAS means B means bracket. That is a simple acronym, right? So typically how you do means when you do a operation, which one should come first, which one should come next. That order is divided by this. First bracket, then the order, then like division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, right? So orders means what? Square root or power, like that. In the same fashion, so Python follows something called as PEMDAS. So PEMDAS means like, so parentheses, exponent, multiplication, addition, division. The same thing, hierarchy in terms of. What I mean by this is that it will give the order of hierarchy. If there are two operations at the same level, which one should be given the priority? If I have like, 10, so plus so and so, plus some other value, plus so and so. Now in this case, did you understand that there were four operators? All operators are same. Then how the execution happens? Generally, left to right, top to bottom order executes. That's the reason. And in this case, whichever happens first also, you don't feel much difference, right? But if I have one of them as a division, then which one happens first? As per this rule, you can come here. So we have addition and subtraction, right? So you can come in this rule. First addition is there, addition, addition or subtraction, addition or subtraction. First addition came. Means first these two will addition happens and these two addition will happen and the result will be subtracted. Means it is same as like this. So whenever you are confused of what happens first and what happens next, you can do like this. But it's okay, sir. Addition, subtraction, if are there, it's not a big deal. So only addition, subtraction means. Whenever this multiplication, division and others comes, that's where the things difference, right? You see. So if I do the same operation right now, instead of a addition, if I have like one of them as a multiplication also, then which one gonna happen first? Which one happens next? So in the process, which one came first? Multiplication. So it means that these two will happen first, you know. So and the remaining value will be, so the addition also happens and the result will be multiplied. So that is how it works. That's the reason here. When you place a brace also, it's make no difference. So if I have like one of them as a division also, then which one happens first? So in the process, first multiplication came, then these two multiplication happens. And sorry, I think, yeah. So like this, if I have like, no, one more example, 100 divided by 10 multiply by 100. In this case, it's very interesting. If I have multiplication and division, which one happens first? Obviously, multiplication. To understand that, you can do a brace and you can see the result. So why division happened? PEMDAS. Okay, which one happened? So okay, so when you make a difference, you will understand. I think they made the other way. If I place this brace around for this each of the operations, you will notice the difference. Means like first division happened when you have division and multiplication. So multiplication should happen, right? But I don't know why. So division is happening first. So like that, it will happen. Not only this, I can give like some good examples for you to understand in terms of these operations. So if I have something like this, some good operation is there. So I have a big operation. Now, which one happens? So this is an individual number. This is an individual number, and you have placed a brace. So why PEMDAS P comes first? Because it's a parenthesis. Parenthesis means whatever you place within the parenthesis will execute first. Why they didn't call bracket? Because in Python there are three types of brackets, right? We should not use other braces because I told other braces has a different importance. So like that, so everything will happen. But don't worry, if you don't know these things also, it's very easy. If you want to understand, um, and if you are confused at some time, then don't worry, you can just place a brace. So if you are like having a doubt about something, that whether it is working perfectly or not, place a brace. And also, not only that, the confusion is like Python supports multiple operators. This is a division, we understood. I can do like one more division also. I can do like one more division. I can do like one more division. Hope you understood how things are working here in Python. So when you have like multiple division, so which one happens first? The first two. The result will be divided by this one. Result will be this one. Result this one. Result this one. So it means like like this it works. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So like this it works. I gave an example also for you to understand in terms of this operator precedence to understand. say I want to say operator precedence dot dot py5. Just to show you, I placed some list. Just take as a home assignment to understand more. I'm giving the list of files. Some examples I have. Yeah, this is one of the interesting example which you find. So you don't know at this moment what is a in operator. So what is a these things. But once you understand that, you can come back. It's a very, very fine example. In most interview questions, you can find it. Like this, it will happen. So how we came to all these things, because when you are working on a real-time problems only, you get these kind of problems. So to address that only we came. So multiplication first or division first means. So to make ensure that this multiplication takes place first, I did like this. Next, after that, same like this ration store. Can I go for one more store? I can go for now the next one called as a fruit store. So in a ration store, everything is fixed for them. So whereas in a fruit store, at least we get an option. So, but the difference is like in a fruit store, they don't sell individually or in cages. So generally they sell in dozens, right? So that's a uniqueness. If I am making like 12 rupee per piece, so or like 34 rupee per piece, if I want like 5 dozens quantity, means a dozen is something is a constant, right? Which we know. So then we need to multiply and count the actual quantity. So, and actual quantity, and for that actual quantity, we need to multiply, get the total values, any discount we need to apply. And so there will be GST these days. That GST we need to apply. Discount we need to subtract. GST we need to add. And finally, we need to get the results. For that, what would be the steps? So we can follow in the same lines. So when you're creating an algorithm, so first we need to create like that. Get the cost of the fruits into variables. So, and if I get the cost of the fruits into variables, I wrote like the constants. So the cost of the things, cost of apples. In the same fashion, we need to get the cost of the quantities also. But for the cost of the quantities, there is interesting thing. How much user has given? User told that it is like 5 dozens, right? So 5 dozen quantity means quantity of apples is equal to 5 dozen. Can I write like 5 into dozen? So dozen means like 12, right? So I can write. Similarly, cost of apples means also I can write. So cost of apples is also into 12. But you have written a constant 12 every time. So you have something like a constant in your program. Constant is something like an assumption, right? What if in a different country doesn't mean like 13? You don't know, right? So in that case, it's better to write as a constant. We define that number and do it. And in a program, any program when you go, what are the constants are the assumptions in that program? We need to define the constants in the starting itself, such that anyone comes to a code, immediately they can see what are the constants in this. You see, constant doesn't mean that everything should be in capital, but Pippa it recommends to do like that. So instead of now writing it well, I can replace with this. So instead of writing like that, I can replace with this. Now, if you see now the cost of apples and cost of quantities, I got now. So tomorrow, if you feel like dozen is changing, you can just change the value instead of going to the entire code. And if you have more such constants, generally there is something called as configuration file. I will tell down the line. So for small one or two constants, you write in a file itself. Next, what are the next steps I need to do after getting it? So with this, what I can understand, I got the quantities. Next, I need to multiply these quantities, get the discounted discount, right? So for that, I need to compute the selling price of each of them and add them. So after doing that, I need to do the discount and the GST. So now I got this one. How do I get the selling price? Selling price means cost into quantity. Earlier in the previous example, the cost into cost individual selling prices I created and I subsequently added the result. Rather, I can do all at one shot itself. Now you understood the what is a PEMDAS. Now you can tell me better. Which one happens first when there is a multiplication and addition? Obviously multiplication. Even if I don't place braces also. And here also obviously multiplication happens. So then the result will be added. So if I want to see that result, okay, I am in the terminal right now. So I'm in a Jupyter notebook. So I should exit. Now I can take this copy path. I can say like Python space. I give it. You got the total selling price. Yes, till now it is correct. Now I need to compute the discount. So for computing the discount, what is the discount amount they give? Discount is 2% and GST is 12.5%. Again, these are also numbers which are constants, right? So I can mention those also like a constant here such that I can reuse it. So these are my total constants in this program. Now using this discount, I need to compute the discount right now. So if I compute the discount right now, I can get the value, the total result. So, and like, after getting the discount, what is the result finally? You got a discount amount right now. You see, so and so, you got a discount. So and so, 1944, discount is like 38.88. Now I need to subtract that. So we need to subtract, and you got the result. Total selling price minus discount means you get the result. You see, now if I compare, I got the total selling price. So you got discount is 38. The result is like 1905. 1905. Now I need to compute the GST. How do you compute the GST? Again, the same way. So whatsoever the amount you have, so the amount payable, so into the GST amount, divide by 100. I get the GST amount also. See, I got the GST amount right now. Now I need to subtract this GST amount, and finally I get the billing amount. And if I subtract it, I get it. You see, if I execute, I got it. So this is the final value. Okay, one second. Yeah, this is the final value. But if a user is coming to you and if you ask, hey, give me this much paise, so they will get like shocked how to give this amount. So generally in real time, what happens when you create a bill, we need to round off. Means if you ask like 2599999, it would be very difficult. To solve this problem, there is one thing called as a round built-in function. Round is a built-in function to help us to round to any number of digits. So post decimal you can round, but generally also we can round. Means the same bill I am passing to another built-in function called as round. And after for this round function, apart from a number floating point, I am giving a 2. Means post decimal, round to 2 digits. And it is easy, right, for the people to give. So that is how you worked on a typical problem and you addressed a problem here. Is it clear? How we solve this problem? Okay. Now we have
Yes.
solved this problem. In the same fashion, let's take the last two problems, practical, then you will understand more clearly. Every problem I am introducing some kind of complexity. First, in the ration store, we have everything fixed. In a fruit store, so you have some flexibility, but still the numbers are in dozens. It's a new thing. Let me go for like one more store. This time we can go for a grocery store. In a grocery store, we have the ultimate, flexibility. We can do whatever we want. Means they specify only the items and their costs. You decide like how much you want, right? Now for this, if you want to implement, what is the way that you can do? First, here also we need to have the very basic things, which is the cost, right? So get the cost of the items into the variables. If I want to get this, the cost of rice is like 30, 10 and wheat is like 34. I got. Here nothing is a constant. These are the actual values. I placed it. Now, if I want to get the items, means how to get the values, how much quantity I want. If you want to get the quantity, so there is something called as a input function. Using input function, we can get the quantities. Using input function, we can get the quantities. There is a built-in function. So if I get whatever the value I'm getting, I can just print for the sake of our convenience. Okay. So now how to execute it? So rather than making this much big path, I would say like I will go to this directory. You see, remove that last file. Then you will go to this directory, clear the screen, and Python f so and so. Now, if it is completed execution, you need to get a prompt, but still it is not coming. Means it is waiting for something, but it is not telling you. So if someone don't tell what they want, how can you give what you want? So if you just enter, then it did like this. Means till now it waited. The program didn't complete it. So but if it tells what it want, it is easy, right? So that's the reason this input function you can pass just like that if you know what you want. But it's a best practice to pass in within codes whatever you want. Means when you execute, it will print that message what are you wrote in input string. Then you will understand as a human being that what they want. They are asking to enter quantity in rice. Okay, you gave 10. You got 10. Fine. After getting the quantity in rice, so similarly, I need to get the quantity of wheat also, but I will tell shortly afterwards. Let's compute the selling price of this rice. In selling price, how do you compute? You get the value. So cost into quantity, right? That's how we get it. I execute right now. So it is asking how much rice you want. This time I say like I just want 5 kgs rice itself. Now what is the selling price? Oh my god, this much quantity. So this much selling price. Why it happened? Did you see any issue here? They told the cost of rice is 10 only. You gave 5, but still this much. Then it is too costly. I will buy only 1 kg. Even then also this much it came. Means what's happening here? That's what you need to understand. If you are trying to understand this, you will understand a very, very unique point called if you check the data type, that's where you'll understand a lot. So if you see here, I gave like say this time 3. When I give 3, 3 is an integer which I give. But how it is treating? It's like a string. This is the most important point you need to remember as an individual. Means when you want to get the values in runtime, we need to use an input built-in function. But this input built-in function will take anything like in a string only. There is some story in the backend called in Python 2, there is something called as the raw input and input. So and that raw input of Python 2 is called as the input in Python 3. So but why they have taken everything like a string? Now we see the interesting point I will tell you. I have given like integer, you got it right. Let me give one more example. This time I will give a boolean. You see what's happening? This time I will give a none. This time if I give like a floating point value, and this time if I give something like a list, I'll gonna give like a list. You see whatever the data type you give, it is treating like a string only. Every time you can see, right? Every time it is treating like a string. Okay, this is part one of the problem. But why you are getting this much number means that is called as string repetition. In Python, there is a concept called as string repetition. Generally, most of the languages doesn't support multiplication with a integer and a string. If I say like, what what into 3. If I give, what will happen? What is coming 3 times, right? In the same fashion, when you give the number, so actually the cost is 10, and you give the value as a 3, it took like a 3. 10 into 3. The 3 was displaying 10 times. Whatever you give, it is displaying 10 times. See here, whatsoever you give, it gave display 10 times. So two things happened is like, so this input by default is taking everything like a string. Now, why they have taken like this means there is something called as SQL injections or injection attacks to be precise. Code injection attacks, if you see, you may not know all these things, but if you understood, in the code they will inject something. When in runtime, when you are asking for an input like a number, they will give some ls command to execute. Say, so generally, if I do like a clear command or something, if I execute it here, if I say ls-l, in a runtime when they are asking the code to give the list of files, so or like something else, or like they can give like a rm-rf. These are like code breakage commands. So these kind of things to avoid, they treat everything like a string. So once you get a string, it is up to you how to handle it. That's the reason, as we want like an integer, we need to convert it. So due to that, when you pass exactly, it will work. You see, in this case, if I pass like 10 right now, now did you see what is the cost now? So 10 into 10, things are good. Similarly, if I pass like 3 right now, 3 into 10, I got 30. So if I pass like some other data, so it throw an error because it cannot convert to integer. And if I pass like some other name, it cannot convert to things. So it will not be intelligent. So there is a better way of doing intelligence here also, using a eval built-in function. It will understand, but that is not a good practice. That's why I don't even want to tell you that option. So hope you understood what is the problem and what is the solution. Input is for taking any values in runtime, but instead of taking like that, you can rely on it. And in the same fashion, like this, we can get the selling price of this. You see, instead of taking a value to one variable and in the next line converting to an integer, I am doing all at one shot, taking the value and converting to integer. In real-time code, for anyone's code, if you see, it will be like this only. Now this time I am taking two values. So obviously I need to compute two selling prices, selling price of rice, selling price of wheat. Both of them I need to compute. So finally, I need to get the total cost of all of them together. So in this example, I don't want to repeat again those discounts and others. Just I want to display the total values. So you give like, so 3 kgs and wheat is also 3 kgs. You got the total result. Now, what is the total selling price? 132. Is it clear? The cost and so and so. Hope it's clear, everyone. Fine.
Yes.
So like that, we need to write a typical program. And one last thing to start with is about a typical bank application. With this practical problem, we can stop. E, F, E, F, G, right? Okay. Okay, typical savings bank. If you have a typical savings bank, we make this function. So lastly, this savings function. If you go for a typical bank, how things works? A small example. First, you create a balance account, and you want some kind of activities. So whenever I want to write a program, first I write in a English like language so that I can understand what I need to do. Any bank initially their balance will be 0. So first I create a variable called as balance with initial value 0. Then initially I deposit a minimum balance something. Then so after initial deposit, salary was credited, means that is also an addition. Then some online purchase means deduction. House rent is paid, then it's a deduction. So finally display the end result. So display So balance. This is what the 6 steps I need to implement. How I do in a code? First, I take a variable called as balance. Initially, the result is equal to 0, right? So after that, for this balance, I need to subsequently add the value. So initial minimum balance of 1500. Right? We can work with balance equal to balance plus 1 value, or with a compound operation also we can do. That's what we did earlier. And after that, we got a salary was credited. So the salary was credited means again plus equal to. And like after that, we have did an online purchase. Online purchase means amount should be deducted. So minus equal to. Similarly, if I have a house rent, so if I want to write a house rent, again we need to deduct like this. And finally, you want to display the final result. So final balance you want to display. Now in this entire process, we just implemented a small program to show our activity. So finally balance you got something. So for each of the states, what is the balance? So after each of the state, at the end also, what is the balance? You got it? So, but if you want to implement more better strategies and other things, you need to know how to write a functions, classes, and others. As at this stage, we don't have that information. So down the line, when you get an opportunity, we can work on that. So similarly, I will give an assignment. You please complete that in your time. By tomorrow, give a try to just complete one example. So this is into the bank loan. So typically, if you want to understand a bank loans, there are two types of things. One is a simple interest, other one is compound interest. So I have given an example also, just you to walk. Go to this example, you will understand. Simple interest calculation. I took the same formula to help you. Generally, simple interest is same everywhere. So if you take some principal amount, and if you give the rate of interest, and if you give the tenure, like years or months, we will calculate. So this is the total amount you're gonna pay. So that interest amount you need to calculate. It's a simple example. So implement that. You write a small code for the same, where you take the values in runtime. This means in real time you need to take. So I can give an assignment also. So like one more assignment is into the uh, what is that? Um, Compound interest. Compound interest is one more assignment. Generally for assignments, I will not give the code. You need to just walk through. If you are stuck somewhere, I can help you, but I don't give the code. Similarly, there is one more example called as compound interest. For that also you need to do. So one is simple interest, other one is compound interest. It's a simple formula. You can implement it. It's not that difficult. If give it a try, slowly if you didn't understand, I can help you there. So fine. And now we have done this much code. Now we need to push this code. Till now I didn't show these options. I will show you now what is this Git and how it works. If you go to the terminal, in any terminal you can see what is the path. And in the braces you can see the Git branch. So if I say like a Git branch, the moment I install Git, I can do this command called as Git branch. It will say in local how many branches are there for me. The moment you install you install Git, and if you clone the repository locally, you will have main only. If you want to create anything, you can do. And if you want to list the changes, there is something called as Git status. In Git status, if you see, it will show what all the files which are modified. Means already they were in Git, now they were modified. And these were like in untracked means new files. So two types of files are there. Now everything is in the class 2, but today is class 3. So I want to create a new branch. So git checkout. If the branch is not there, class 3 I want to create. As it is not there, I need to do for the first time B. Means if you want to create a new branch and checkout, the hyphen B should be done. If it is for the first time, next time you are doing, hyphen b is not there, needed. Say class 03 I want to do. Git checkout hyphen b means, now did you see checking out to a new branch? Now if I say the same git branch right now did you see I got like 4 branches and it is giving a highlight on branch 3, class 3. So now if I do the git status, again the same thing happens. What are the local changes are with you only. Where you want to push, it's up to you. In my code, I want to push all my changes. How do I push a change? Means after doing a git, creating to a branch and checking out, you can add this file. If you want to individually add a file, we can say like git add a file. So, but if you want to add all the files, because in this directory, if I want to add all, if you want to do only in the current directory, you do a dot. If you want to do all the entire directories everywhere, you do a star. If I do right now, git status again. Now, did you notice? Let me give a clear command. If you do a git status, did you see what happened? Everything became green. Means all the changes were staged. Means ready to commit. But did you see that this file was not gone? Because it is in a separate directory, right? So if I do like a git add, so because I am in a different directory, I can do like this. Now, if I do a git status, did you see everything was, staged? Just think like this. First, we need to have the files which we need to make changes or create, do something that need to be added. Once you add it, it will become changes, staged. Then we need to commit it. All the files became like a bundle. Now I am creating like a bundle. I am saying like this is class 03, right? Class 03. In class 03, what all things I decided right now? So we worked on like arithmetic operations, compound, and other operations, right? Arithmetic, so compound, um, operations, so operator precedence, and like so practical examples, practical problems we solved. So these are the 3 things. Git commit hyphen m means message. Within quotes, you give the message. Then you did a commit. Now, if I do the git status, you can see all the changes were done. Nothing more to commit. Means now the code will not come directly. Now the last step we need to do is git push. The moment I did a git push, it is saying that, hey, you need to do like this. Means where I need to push the code to my branch only in the code. So I will give a list of all these steps so that you will remember. But daily we will do the same thing. So slowly you will understand. So if I do like a git status, as I pushed everything, what is saying on branch class 3. So you are in origin slash class 3, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So everything is clear right now. Now my work was done. Now finally, after my work is done, I can go to this GitHub again, github.com. I go to my repository. This is my repository. And you can see that. Did you see what happened? So class 3, there is a new branch. Now, did you see in the branches, one more class called as class 3 is there? And it is saying that you pushed some changes 1 minute ago. Do you want to compare and give a pull request? Yes. Means for daily, what are the changes I am doing? I want to commit them. So this is like a title and we can give the commit message. Whatever I write, it will show here. Practical problems, right? Practical problems. So something like operator precedence. I can copy this content. So what I'm seeing, see the direction. From class 3 branch, you are going to main branch. Yes. If I create a pull request, it will create the pull request. What is the pull request means that? For every, if there will be multiple branches, from one branch to another branch, you are telling that, hey, take this code. So for taking this code, it is asking. So what is saying that, I gave a pull request. It is saying that at least one approval pending is required by reviewers. So, merging is blocked because I assigned like a label that, no one can directly merge to the main branch. So merge without waiting for requirements to be met, I wrote. Because like I am the owner, I can do this. You all cannot do directly to the main branch. To avoid doing this, I am did like this. Now, if I do like a merge pull request, the code will go there. And if I say like merge, confirm merge, it will merge the code. Now you can see that in the code, if I see, so totally today's class also, class 3 is also coming here 3 minutes ago. What are I did? Now totally I have like three branches. If I go to class 1 related. If I go for class 3 today, class 3 related. So like that every class branches I have. So what are the code I wrote? This pip install commands and everything. Now the moment you come to this, you just need to come here to this branch. You can see everything about our course. What is the course coverage? How much we have done? What is execution? Everything. Hope it's clear. So we can stop here then. Thank you.
Yes.